What's up, everybody? Jake Blickenstaff here, host of the Northeast Georgia Real Estate Podcast, and we're back in another episode. And I'm excited to bring you guys the lovely guest that we have today. His name is Troy Woods. Troy is the managing broker and founder of RealtyWerx Property Management, graduate of Georgia State University. We won't hold that against him being here in UGA country. He had a bachelor's of science in finance, and he began his career as a merger and acquisitions accounting analyst, so M&A in the banking industry, and wound up transitioning his career to technology and project management for the last 25 years in banking and the healthcare industry. In that role as a consultant, both internal and external, so that's pretty exciting. And Troy has owned and managed rental properties as both an investor and as a manager. So Mr. Troy comes to us. He is married, has a lovely wife, Irene, who I have met. She's a fantastic lady. And a son, David. So you currently own RealtyWerx Property Management, which is a full-service property management company. Yeah. So I know a little bit about you now. Why don't you take a minute and just give us a little bit of backstory of like maybe how you got into that and outside of like what we covered, and really kind of catch us up to kind of how you got
First
into
of all,
that.
thank you for having me here. I'm very honored that you were able to let me come on your show and talk about RealtyWerx and what we do. It's very exciting for us right now as we grow our business. The impetus of starting the business is really a lack of service. I owned a condo here. My wife and I bought a condo here in 2011 and just saw a gap in how there was a lack of services in my mind, and I just found that property management is a service business, and to be able to provide a good service in this industry is key.
Yeah.
Whether we represent either the homeowner association, the property owner association, condo association, and the investor, and that's who we represent. But we also have, homeowners and renters as clients, as customers, really. And so we want to balance that, and we want to provide, responsiveness and reliability in this industry here, and dependability. That's the other thing, is being dependable. So we wanted to bring those attributes to this marketplace.
Yeah, I think whatever. Welcome, first-time guests and loyal listeners to the Northeast Georgia Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Blickenstaff, and I'm here to guide you through the real estate landscape across our region. Whether you're a buyer, seller, investor, or just plain curious, this podcast is going to be your go-to source for local insights. We explore real estate trends, economic forecasts, and highlight local businesses. You can expect expert interviews and valuable discussions to help you make informed decisions in the Northeast Georgia property market. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy this crazy journey into the real estate market together. I think whenever you're in the midst of something, that usually breeds the most innovation. And I think you saw that there was a need in that market, and you capitalized on that.
Yeah.
So how long have you guys been a part of the Athens community?
Since 2011. I grew up in South Georgia. My dad brought me up to games, and I as a kid, I always wanted to live in Athens, even, being in South Georgia, coming up here, and the excitement of Athens. And so we made it a point to buy a condo in 2011, which was, a really good opportunity for us at the time. And we've been a part of the community ever since. So it's been really nice. We currently live in Watkinsville. We have our offices in Watkinsville. So we've entrenched ourselves here.
That's good stuff.
Yes.
So are you, with being here since 2011, are there any community projects that you're a part of or anything that you currently do?
I've done some Habitat for Humanity work.
Okay.
Just a little bit of volunteer there. I've done that over the years. As part of my career, we've made it a point to do some volunteer work. But yeah, I've done a few things with the community if with volunteering. So yeah, it's been exciting.
That's good stuff. I like their program.
I do too. Yeah, and it correlates to real estate, really. If you think about it, I mean, we're providing they're providing good homes for people who are, from a price perspective can actually own a home. So that benefit is really great, and that's part of what we do as realtors and real estate professionals, is provide homes for people. And that's, to me, the most exciting part of being a realtor, being a property manager. And to me, that's the enjoyable part.
Yeah, with speaking on that, I mean, I have multiple clients that I work with on a daily basis, and it doesn't matter if like it's a $1 million purchase for the dream home that they're finally able to achieve, or that first time purchase for that new homeowner. I mean, it's almost like that first time purchase for the new homeowner is more of a bittersweet transaction, because it's just that first step towards the path of homeownership and like building that financial wealth within your family. So I think that's pretty important. Now, and this doesn't have to just cover with you being in the property management business, but like over your career, what would you say that some of the biggest successes are that you've had to date?
Well, I started out my career, as you mentioned, as an accounting analyst, and my first big kind of success story started with an acquisition where back in the days of the savings and loan crisis, I worked on mergers when I was in college, and I was able to help a bank work with the Resolution Trust Corporation, who went in and took over savings and loans back then, and they dispersed and sold off the assets. And I worked for the bank who bought some of the assets for one of the largest RTC deals in Atlanta at the time. We found a discrepancy of about $9 million, and
so small,
just a little bit. And so, working with the internal auditors that came over from Birmingham, I was working for a Birmingham bank at the time in Atlanta, and we found the difference. And over a week period, me and a couple other accountants worked on it, and that was kind of the first, my first career success. And I ended up working for them in Birmingham, traveling around the Southeast, buying up banks and working on a conversion team, and flying around the corporate plane. It's just one of those things where, as a small town guy coming from South Georgia, the first job that you have out of college is this job, and you're kind of pinching yourself a little bit. I was, at least. I'm not supposed to really be here, but I am, and it worked out great, and I learned a lot. That my career path changed into project management, and so I did a lot. I've worked on a lot of enterprise-wide projects that bent the needle for these companies that I've worked for, and so I learned a lot about people and process and accounting and systems, and all of those things over the years have helped me get to where I am now.
Well, that's good stuff. It's clearly paying off for you.
Yeah, I hope so. And my goal for RealtyWerx is to be a servant company. We want to serve the people that we are as a client. So that's where I want to be. I believe I think I sent you that one referral that I emailed you, and that's really kind of where I want to be. Is my company wants to strive to have those type of referrals every time we do business.
Well, that's good stuff, and I think that's going to shine through the more that you continue to do exactly what you're doing. But that leads me into what really separates you from maybe another property management company or an HOA or company that's out there.
I don't know if we separate ourselves from anybody. I don't want us to compare what we do with anyone else. What I want to provide is good communication, quick turnaround on requests. I want to be communicative. I want to be on site. I want to be involved in the process. I want to be have a consultative relationship with both board members and investors. And so I'm not sure if that sets me apart. I think it might, but my goal is to become a consultant to those entities I work with, so that I can make them better. So one of the things, and a perfect example of one of the things that we do, is when we take over a homeowner association or a condo association, we start 30, 60 days before we take over, and we start identifying pain points that the board is experiencing. And so and come up with solutions for those pain points. And in the first 90 days, we do what we call kind of a reset or a strategic 90-day review of things. So we go in and review the vendors, we review the financials, we review the pain points, we look at the committees that are established, or lack of a committee that's being established, and we kind of do a reset in those first 90 days. and we want to start making things, creating expectations, creating rigor around the management process, just understanding what pain points they're having, because the board, these folks mostly are volunteers.
Yeah.
So to help them strategically think about their community, I think helps them a lot and gets them thinking. Now, investors, I do the same type of thing. If you come to me as an investor, I'm gonna sit down with you, no matter where you are in the process, whether you're a brand new investor or a seasoned investor, and we're gonna talk about your goals, talk about what type of properties you want. We'll talk about some of the things that you want. Are you looking at building? What is your exit strategy? Are you looking at building generational wealth? I mean, those are the kind of conversations I have with my investors, because I want to be aligned with them because of what we're doing. So it's important for me to do that, and I don't know if it's important for other people to do it, but it is for me.
Well, I think that makes it very apparent that you're not like a one size fits all. You want to cater the services that you offer based off the needs of the client that you're working with.
Absolutely.
That's good. So what would you say, out of what you've been doing on the property management side, what are some of the challenges that you've gone through? Like, maybe if there's just something that, like, man, this was a real big problem, and this was the way that we wound up solving that.
Well, I think having good vendors that support you, like building that team of people that I can rely on, has been a challenge. Plumbers are really busy these days. It's really hard to find a good plumber. But I found a few that I rely on, good painters and good handy workers, people that can go in and just do everything to a property. It's really, that's been a challenge. But once you find those people, you reward them with work, and then you keep them busy, and then you refer them to other people. So it's one of those things that's the biggest challenge in the industry right now. I think it's an industry is finding good people that in the service industry that can provide benefits to, like, landscapers and others, to the property managers, and that's been the challenge, the biggest one right now.
I think that's an ongoing one, not just for your side of it, but the service industry as a whole.
Absolutely.
Like, I have a bunch of builders and general contractors and other service members that it's like, man, it's tough these days really to find, for one, good help, and then when you do get good help, ensuring that they do have enough work to do and all the things. So I think that's important to kind of highlight. Now, I know from my side of the table, being a realtor and being a broker, both residential and commercial, I know what we have to do whenever we need to adapt to any changes that are in the market. But what do you see from your side of the table as things start to change or evolve in the marketplace?
Well, I think what's happening now is that more people are renting, because the lack of houses that are available, the inventory is somewhat low. People are still renting, and the interest rates being as high as they are, and then the prices of homes being as high as they are, people are still renting. I think the marketplace overall, from a rental perspective, has been skewed a little bit because of some of the investment firms that are come in and bought all these properties, built all these neighborhoods, and do nothing but rentals. Mm-hmm. I don't think, I think there might be a rental bubble based on the fact that there's 40,000 and 50,000 or 100,000 homes being built just for rentals since 2008, because the hedge funds got really smart. They had a lot of money, and they decided, well, let's buy all the foreclosures. Now they rented all these foreclosures out, and now they've seen an opportunity to buy land and build homes and do nothing but neighborhoods worth of rentals, or buy homes and just rent them out, which has affected the homeowner associations in those communities that where those hedge funds have come in and just provided rentals, and so that's been a tweak in the rental space. That has, I think, will create a future bubble at some point. They, meaning the hedge funds, will probably end up selling off a lot of this inventory, and they'll do it in tranches, huge tranches, like 2,000 homes at a time, which could then in turn affect the prices of housing in those markets. So I think that's coming. I'm just, it's just a guess, but I believe that's coming. So in preparation for that, I want to be prepared to be scalable for those companies that want to go in and buy these tranches and re-rent them. In my opinion, the people who buy these, that are going and buy whole neighborhoods, I would still rent them out, but I would create a homeowner association, stop any new rentals, and then sell off the rentals as you go. And that will create a value increase in the neighborhood. You do that kind of stuff. So I think that's coming. I don't know how long. Those hedge fund investors look at that. They have a 7 to 10 year window. And so I think what you're looking at is do they want to start Are they seeing a lot of repairs and replacing of air conditioning units and things like that? They're going to leave the market space. So I think that's coming. And I just want to be prepared to scale for somebody who wants to be that type of investor.
Yeah, I think that's good. I actually went and toured one of my first build-to-rent communities last year. And every single house, I want to say that it was like an affiliate of one of the main spec home builders in here. And that might be just like one of the arms of like some of the big PE or hedge funds that are out there that you're talking about. But it was interesting. Great homes, but essentially like what you're talking about is they're getting in at the ground floor, they're doing the work, and then at that point, prior to any major capital investments or expenses, roof, AC units, big repairs, then they could potentially sell off the entire asset. And at that point, you got 6, 7, 10 years worth of appreciation in the home. So, I mean, from an investor standpoint, it's not a bad idea, but I think that, like you said, that there's definitely going to be some swings in the market as some of those communities start to come back available and change hands. So what would you say that it takes with everything that you have going on and coming from your previous industry as well? Like, what would be some of the best advice or tips that you have to maintain a successful business, but also having a balanced home life?
That's a great question. And I think every entrepreneur struggles with that. I think it's a matter of making time. You block out time for meetings in your day, and it's just as important to block out time for your family and get that done. So it's a very conscious decision to do that. My wife is in the jewelry business here in Athens. She's the manager, and I'm gonna plug her, but if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
She's the manager at Chandler Jewelry, and she spends a lot of time there, works very hard, and when we're at home, we both try to make sure that we're together and present when we're there. So it's important to be able to do that.
I think that is important. You touched on something that I resonate with as well. Like the same way that you'd be in a meeting with a client, you don't want to have your phone on, you don't want to be scrolling through social media. Try to carry that same respect into a meeting, like with your spouse or when you're hanging out with your kids. Set aside time that you can go do that, but like you said, be present, be there, because those moments go by like that.
That's true, especially when you have kids.
Absolutely. So I like to transition here as we get closer towards the end. What advice or tips would you give to any aspiring entrepreneurs that are like looking that they don't love where they're at, or they can't get in line with the work for 40 years so I can get 40% of my income after that and do the retirement thing, like they want to step out on their own. Do you have any tips for anybody that's looking to try to do that?
I do. I think you have to not run from where you are. First thing is not run. Don't run from where you are. I think the first thing you have to do is figure out what you can see yourself doing, right? And then come up with a plan. It's difficult to be in that 40-hour work week and then think about doing your other business, doing a side business. So be prepared. Just prepare yourself. Come up with a plan. Determine what your exit strategy would be. Figure out what you want that to become. Have your dream put down on paper and set some goals and do it. It's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially now after the COVID. Going back to work and getting back to that 9 to 5 rigor. It's important that you determine what your goals are and be prepared for it.
Yeah. No, I think that's good stuff. They say that most businesses, they fail because they don't have a plan in place.
Yes.
With no business plan, it shouldn't be any different than trying to do that for your first business or first, I guess, startup that you're wanting to try to accomplish as well. So as we wrap up, is there any special offers that you can provide to my audience if they reach out and they say, hey, Troy, man, I saw your episode on Jake's podcast. I'd love to potentially have you come out. Anything like that?
For our first-time clients on the residential property management side, on the rental side, we offer a free rental estimate. We also waive the first marketing fee for your property and the first rent renewal fee. So that's a value of about, I don't know, maybe $500 if you think about that. And so we want to have your first year with us to be profitable and your return on investment be profitable, and then we can start working on finding good tenants.
Well, good stuff. Yeah. I like that.
Thank you.
So for the last question I have is like, what kind of valuable nuggets can you leave behind? And maybe it's like if anybody has investment properties or they're wanting to get into the investment space, what is it as a property manager that you would come in and look for or potentially advise any potential clients on for their property? What are some tips that you can
That's a great question, because I get people, even the seasoned investors, I get a chance to sit down with them, but there's some questions you need to ask yourself. Again, we touched on this a little bit earlier. What is the end in mind? If you're a new investor, what are your goals? What type of properties do you see yourself investing in? Mm-hmm. And just know that a portfolio of real estate is just an investment portfolio piece. You have stocks, bonds, things that you might want to invest in as supplemental pieces, because economies shift and things work differently. So you want to be somewhat interchangeable and reduce your risk there. But if you're a new investor, figure out what you want to have, right? And then determine what your ROI is going to look like. And then I would say get some people around you that can help you make some good decisions. A good accountant, a good attorney, a good real estate agent. Those people can help you find your properties, and those people can help you set up the companies, that structure that you'll need. And the attorney might help you set up the future income streams or future family benefits, that like a trust or something, as you build this out. And it's good to have an attorney, because in real estate you're often litigated against. Yeah. So having a good attorney that you can rely on.
I can attest to that.
Yeah. So it's good to have good people around you. That's the first thing. That's the newbie conversation. Figure out where you want to be. Figure out where you want to go. Figure out how you want to exit. For the existing ones, I have the same conversations. However, this conversation prompts a more strategic conversation with the existing investors, because a lot of times what we do as a property management company, we free up your time. We give you time. So what are you going to do with that extra time? Are you going to continue investing in properties, go out and find? We're going to give you that time back so that you can do all those things. Are you nearing the end of your exit? What are you going to do with your properties? Are you going to give them to your children, grandchildren? What does that look like? They may not be there yet, but those are the conversations we'll have. Are you going to build your portfolio even more? What does that look like? So we'll have those conversations, because I want to be in line with the client. I want to understand what their goals are so I can help them get there. So it's important for me to have that conversation.
No, I agree with that. And a lot of newbie investors, they usually make statements like, well, I don't want to pay somebody 8 to 12%, whatever the range is on who you're working with. Right. I'm like, let me ask you a question. Do you ever go out to dinner? And of course, everybody's like, yeah, absolutely, Jake. We go out to dinner. I'm like, so do you normally leave a tip? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be an idiot. And so it's like you leave a 15 to 25% tip every time you go out to eat for the rest of your life for somebody that just does a little bit of service for you. But you're not willing to provide a little bit of tip or a little bit of additional to somebody that, like you said, buys back your time or protects your investments. Yeah. And so I tell them, I think that's asinine.
Yeah. Well, how much is your time worth? You got to figure that out too. And we just talked about family. What I do allows you to spend more time with your family. Yeah. Or other businesses or things that you might want to pursue otherwise. But that's my 2 cents worth.
Awesome, Troy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored that you allowed me to come on.
Well, thanks, guys. As we wrap up another episode of the Northeast Georgia Real Estate Podcast, make sure to reach out to Troy. I'm going to have all of his contact information somewhere around this video, and we will see you on the next episode.